Hey everyone, welcome back to the English Conversation Podcast. I'm Jim.
And I'm Wendy. How are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing great, thanks for asking. I just grabbed a coffee on my way here, and I have to say the barista was super friendly. It reminded me how important these everyday conversations really are.
Oh, that's perfect timing. Jim, I was thinking about this earlier. We chat with people every single day, at restaurants, shops, on our way to work. But sometimes these simple conversations can feel tricky when you're learning English.
Exactly. And that's why I'm really excited about today's episode. We're going to focus on 3 super common situations that happen in our daily lives.
That's right. Today we're going to explore 3 different scenarios. First, we'll listen to someone ordering food at McDonald's. One of those quick, casual conversations we all have.
Then we'll hear a conversation at a hair salon. Getting a haircut might seem simple, but there's actually some useful vocabulary and phrases you can learn from it.
And finally, we'll eavesdrop on 2 people talking about their commute to work. This kind of small talk happens all the time, especially when you're getting to know new colleagues or neighbors.
For each conversation, we'll give you some key vocabulary beforehand. Then we'll break down what happened and explain the most useful phrases.
Remember, these are real-life situations, so the language is natural and relaxed. Don't worry if you don't catch everything the first time. That's totally normal.
So grab a notebook if you want to take some notes, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's daily conversations.
Let's get started.
All right, everyone. Before we listen to our McDonald's conversation, let's go over some key words you'll hear. Wendy and I will both explain 5 important terms that will help you understand everything better.
Vocabulary preview. Let's start with our first word, combo.
A combo is a special meal that includes several items packaged together, like a burger, fries, and a drink. For example, you might say, I want a chicken combo, instead of ordering each item separately.
I think of a combo as a complete meal deal where you get everything you need in one order. For example, when I'm really hungry, I usually order a combo because it has the main dish, a side, and a drink all together.
Perfect. Now let's look at to go.
To go means you want to take your food away from the restaurant instead of eating there. For example, if you're in a hurry, you can tell the worker, I'd like this to go, please.
Right. It's the opposite of eating inside the restaurant. For example, when I order food during my lunch break, I always say to go because I need to get back to work quickly.
Our third word is medium.
Medium is a size that's right in the middle, not too small, not too big. For example, if you want a drink that's not tiny but not huge either, you'd ask for a medium Coke.
Exactly. It's a common size choice. For example, when someone asks me what size fries I want, I usually choose medium because it's just the right amount for me.
Number 4 is cashier.
A cashier is the employee who takes your order and handles your payment at a restaurant or store. For example, you give your money to the cashier after you decide what food you want.
The cashier is basically the person you talk to when you're buying something. For example, if you have questions about the menu, the cashier is there to help you.
And our final word is receipt.
A receipt is a small piece of paper that shows what you bought and how much money you spent. For example, you might keep your receipt to check that you were charged correctly.
It's like a document that shows you've bought something. For example, some people keep their receipts to see how much they spend on food during the month.
Excellent! Now that we've both explained these key words, let's listen to our McDonald's conversation and see how they're used in real life.
Hi there. Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you today?
Hi, I'm looking at the menu here. It's been a while since I've been to McDonald's. What do you recommend?
If you're hungry, our chicken nuggets are pretty popular. You can get them in different sizes, and you can make them a combo with fries and a drink.
That sounds good. How many pieces come in an order?
We have several options, but if you're really hungry, you could get the 20-piece chicken nuggets.
20 pieces sounds good. Can I make that a combo?
Absolutely. What size would you like?
What sizes do you have?
Small, medium, and large. Medium is our most popular choice. It's a good amount without being too much.
Okay, I'll go with a medium combo.
Great. What would you like to drink?
I'll have a medium Sprite, please.
Sure. And what sauces would you like with your nuggets?
Barbecue and sweet and sour, please.
No problem. Will this be for here or to go?
Actually, I'm not sure yet. My friend is supposed to meet me here, but she's running late.
No worries. I can get it ready for here. And if you need to change it to go, just let me know before your food is ready.
Perfect. How much will that be?
Your total is 14,027 cents.
All right, I'll use my card, please.
Sure, you can tap or insert your card right here.
Done. Can I get a receipt?
Of course. Here you go.
Thanks. And where can I find napkins and ketchup?
Right over there by the drink station.
Great. Thank you so much. You've been super helpful.
You're welcome. Your order number is 47. We'll call your number when it's ready.
Thanks.
Order 47, 20-piece nugget combo.
That's me.
Here you go. 20-piece chicken nuggets, medium fries, medium Sprite, and your sauces. Everything look good?
Yes, everything looks great. My friend just texted me and said she can't make it after all. Could I get a bag to take this to go?
No problem. Here's a bag for you, and I'll get you a lid for that drink.
Thank you. The food smells amazing.
You're welcome. Enjoy your meal and have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
What a nice, friendly conversation. Did you notice how the customer asked questions about the menu and sizes?
Exactly. And the worker was really helpful in explaining all the options. That's typical of good customer service. They want to make sure you get exactly what you want.
Now let's break down this conversation and look at some really useful phrases you can use when ordering food anywhere.
Great idea. First, let's talk about how the customer started the conversation. He said, "I'm looking at the menu here. It's been a while since I've been to McDonald's. What do you recommend?" This is perfect when you're not sure what to order.
I love that phrase. What do you recommend? It's so useful. You can use it at any restaurant when you want the staff to help you choose. The customer also showed he was being honest about not knowing the menu well, which made it easier for the worker to help him.
Another great moment was when the customer asked how many pieces come in an order. This shows he wasn't afraid to ask for details. When you're learning English, don't be shy about asking questions. It shows you're engaged and want to understand everything clearly.
Absolutely. And did you notice how the worker explained the sizes? She said, medium is our most popular choice. It's a good amount without being too much. That's helpful information when someone asks about sizes. Giving a little extra context like this really helps customers decide.
Speaking of decisions, I thought it was interesting how the customer changed his mind about eating there. He said, "Actually, I'm not sure yet. My friend is supposed to meet me here, but she's running late. It's totally normal to be uncertain sometimes." And the worker handled it perfectly.
Yes, the worker's response was excellent. No worries, I can get it ready for here. And if you need to change it to go, just let me know before your food is ready. That's great customer service, being flexible and understanding.
Let's talk about the payment part. The customer asked, "How much will that be?" And then said, "I'll use my card, please." These are essential phrases for any purchase. Also, don't forget to ask, "Can I get a receipt?" if you need one.
One thing I really appreciated was how the customer asked, "Where can I find napkins and ketchup?" Instead of just looking around confused, he simply asked for help. The worker's answer was super clear, right over there by the drink station.
And here's something important. Did you notice how polite everyone was? The customer said, Thank you so much, and you've been super helpful. The worker used friendly phrases like, no problem, and you're welcome. Being polite makes every interaction smoother and more pleasant.
The ending was great too. When the customer decided to take the food to go after all, the worker immediately helped him with a bag and a lid, and the customer complimented the food by saying, "The food smells amazing." Little compliments like this can make an interaction feel warmer and friendlier.
Here are some key phrases you should remember from this conversation. What do you recommend? Can I make that a combo? What sizes do you have? Will this be for here or to go? Can I get a receipt? And where can I find?
Those phrases will help you in almost any restaurant or fast food place. Remember, the staff is there to help you, so don't be afraid to ask questions if you're not sure about something.
Exactly. And one last tip. If you need to change something about your order, just be polite and explain the situation like the customer did when his friend couldn't come. Most places will do their best to help you out.
Now let's move on to our next daily conversation, getting a haircut at a salon.
All right, before we listen to our hair salon conversation, let's go over 5 useful words and phrases that you'll hear.
Vocabulary preview. Our first word is trim.
A trim means cutting just a small amount of hair, usually to make it look neat and healthy without changing the overall style too much. For example, you might say, I just want a trim today.
Exactly. When someone asks for a trim, they usually don't want a big change. They just want to remove a little length or clean up the ends. For example, I might ask, would you like a trim, or are you thinking about trying something different?
Our second word is layers.
Layers are sections of hair cut at different lengths. They can give your hair more movement, shape, and volume. For example, a stylist might suggest adding some layers if your hair feels heavy or flat.
Right. Layers can change the shape of your hairstyle without necessarily making your hair much shorter. For example, someone might say, I'd like some layers, but I want to keep most of the length.
Our third term is split ends.
Split ends are damaged ends of your hair that have started to separate. When you have a lot of split ends, your hair can look dry or unhealthy. For example, you might get a trim to remove your split ends.
Exactly. A stylist might say, your hair looks healthy overall, but you have a few split ends that we should clean up.
Number 4 is blow dry.
A blow dry means drying and styling your hair with a hair dryer. At a salon, the stylist usually uses a brush and hair dryer together to create the finished look.
So if you have somewhere important to go after your haircut, you might ask for a blow dry so your hair is already styled when you leave.
Exactly. When I have an important meeting or event, I like having my hair professionally blow dried because it looks polished and put together.
And our final word is appointment.
An appointment is a scheduled time to receive a service. At a hair salon, you usually make an appointment before you go. For example, you might say, I'd like to make an appointment for Friday afternoon.
Right? And if you already have one, you can say, I have an appointment at 2 o'clock.
Great. Now that we've gone over those 5 terms, let's listen to a conversation between a customer and his stylist, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. Good to see you again.
Hi. Good to see you again. It's been a while since your last appointment.
I know. I kept meaning to call, but you know how busy life gets.
I totally understand. Life happens. So, what are we thinking today? Just a trim, or are you ready for something a little different?
Honestly, I'm not really sure, and I'm a little nervous about big changes. My hair's getting pretty long, but I don't want to cut too much off.
That's completely fine. We don't have to do anything dramatic. Let me take a look at your hair first.
Sure.
Your hair is actually in pretty good condition. You do have some split ends, though, so I definitely recommend cleaning those up.
How much would you need to take off?
Not much. Probably about an inch. That would get rid of most of the damaged ends without making your hair feel much shorter.
Okay, I can handle an inch.
Have you ever considered adding some layers?
I've thought about it, but I'm not sure how that would look on me.
We could keep them subtle. Adding a few longer layers would give your hair more movement and make it easier to style every day.
Would I have to spend a lot of time styling it in the morning?
Not at all. That's actually one of the benefits. The layers would give it more shape naturally, so you wouldn't have to do much.
That sounds good. I just don't want anything too dramatic.
I completely understand. We can start with a few subtle layers and keep most of your length. If you like them, we can always add a little more next time.
All right, I trust you completely. You've never steered me wrong before.
I'll take good care of you. So we'll trim about an inch, clean up the split ends, and add some subtle layers.
Sounds perfect.
Great. Let's get started.
I'm excited, but still a little nervous.
That's normal. I'll check in with you as we go, so there are no surprises.
I appreciate that.
Okay, we're almost finished. I'm just going to blow dry your hair so you can see how the layers look when they're styled.
Sounds good.
All right, take a look in the mirror. What do you think?
Wow, I can't believe this is my hair. It looks so much better, but it still feels like me.
That's exactly what we wanted. The layers give you more movement, but we kept the overall length and style.
I really like it, and it doesn't feel like too big of a change.
I'm glad. Sometimes a few small changes can make a big difference.
Definitely. I should have come in sooner.
Well, let's make sure you don't wait so long next time. Would you like to book your next appointment now?
That's probably a good idea. How far ahead should I book?
About 6 to 8 weeks would be good if you want to keep the shape and prevent too many split ends.
Okay, let's do 8 weeks from now if you have something available.
Sure, I have a Friday afternoon appointment at 3.
That works for me.
Perfect. You're all booked.
Great. Thanks so much, Ashley. I really appreciate your advice.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you like it.
I do. See you in 8 weeks.
See you then. Have a great day.
You too.
That was such a great example of professional customer service. Let's break down what happened and look at some phrases you can use at a hair salon.
Absolutely. One thing I noticed right away was how friendly Ashley was. She said, "Hi, good to see you again. It's been a while since your last appointment." That's a really warm and natural way to greet a returning customer.
And the customer responded honestly by saying, I kept meaning to call, but you know how busy life gets. That's a very natural expression. I kept meaning to means you intended to do something several times, but for some reason you didn't actually do it.
Right. And Ashley replied, "I totally understand. Life happens." That's another really common and relaxed expression. Life happens means unexpected things come up and sometimes interfere with our plans.
I also liked the way the customer explained what he wanted. He said, I'm not really sure and I'm a little nervous about big changes. That's very useful language because you don't always need to know exactly what hairstyle you want before you go to the salon.
Exactly. You can explain what you're comfortable with and let the stylist make suggestions. That's what happened when Ashley asked, "Have you ever considered adding some layers?"
And instead of pushing him, Ashley explained how layers would give his hair more movement and make it easier to style every day.
That's an important customer service skill. If someone isn't sure about a change, giving them information can help them make a decision without making them feel pressured.
The customer also asked a really practical question. Would I have to spend a lot of time styling it in the morning? That's exactly the kind of question you should ask if you're thinking about changing your hairstyle.
And Ashley reassured him by explaining that the layers would actually give his hair more shape naturally.
Another useful phrase was, I trust you completely. You've never steered me wrong before.
"You've never steered me wrong" means the person has always given you good advice or helped you make good decisions in the past. It's a friendly way to show that you trust someone's judgment.
Then Ashley summarized the plan before starting. We'll trim about an inch, clean up the split ends, and add some subtle layers.
That's useful because both people know exactly what's going to happen before the haircut begins.
And Ashley also said, I'll check in with you as we go so there are no surprises. That's a great phrase for any situation where someone wants to make sure you're comfortable throughout a process.
Then at the end, the customer said, I can't believe this is my hair. That's a strong positive reaction. He was surprised by how much he liked the result.
And I liked that he added, it looks so much better, but it still feels like me. That's important when you're changing your appearance. Sometimes people want something fresh without feeling like a completely different person.
Finally, Ashley suggested booking the next appointment before he left.
That's practical because it helps make sure you get a time that works for you, especially if your stylist has a busy schedule.
Here are some key phrases to remember. I just want to trim. I don't want to cut too much off. Have you ever considered? How much would you need to take off? I trust you completely, and I'd like to book my next appointment.
You can also say, I want to keep most of the length. Nothing too dramatic. Or, I'd like something that's easy to style.
Those phrases make it much easier to explain exactly what you want at a salon.
And remember, if you're not sure, it's perfectly okay to ask your stylist for advice. That's part of their job.
Exactly. You don't need to know all the technical vocabulary. Clear, simple English and a few useful phrases can help you communicate what you want.
All right, we've ordered food and gotten a haircut. Now it's time for our third everyday situation.
Talking about your commute to work.
This is a really common small talk topic, especially with coworkers.
So before we listen to the conversation, let's preview 5 useful words and phrases.
Vocabulary preview. Our first word is commute.
A commute is the regular trip you make between your home and your workplace or school. For example, you might say, my commute takes about 40 minutes every morning.
Exactly. Your commute can be short or long depending on where you live and how you travel. For example, my commute is usually pretty easy unless there's heavy traffic.
Our second term is rush hour.
Rush hour is the busiest time of day on the roads and public transportation, usually when people are traveling to or from work. For example, traffic can be terrible during the morning rush hour.
Right? If you can travel before or after rush hour, your commute might be much faster.
Our third term is public transportation.
Public transportation includes buses, trains, subways, and other shared ways of getting around a city. For example, someone might use public transportation instead of driving to work every day.
Exactly. In a city with a good public transportation system, you may not even need a car.
Number 4 is carpool.
To carpool means to share a ride with other people who are traveling in the same direction. For example, 3 coworkers might carpool to work instead of driving 3 separate cars.
Carpooling can help you save money on gas, and in some places you can use special carpool lanes.
And our final term is transit app.
A transit app is an app that gives you information about buses, trains, subways, routes, schedules, and delays. For example, you can check a transit app to see when the next subway train is arriving.
Transit apps are especially helpful when there's a delay or when you're trying a new route.
Great. Now that we know those 5 terms, let's listen to a conversation between 2 colleagues, Jim and Rachel, chatting about their daily trips to work.
Pay attention to how they talk about transportation problems and suggest different solutions.
You look a bit tired this morning. Everything okay?
Yeah, my commute was absolutely horrible today.
Oh no. What happened?
Traffic was completely backed up. It took me almost an hour and a half to get here.
An hour and a half? That's rough. I totally understand that feeling. I used to drive to work every day, and rush hour was the worst part of my morning.
How do you usually get to work now?
I take the subway most days. It's about 35 minutes door to door.
Really? That's much faster than my drive this morning.
Usually, yeah. There are delays sometimes, but I can check the transit app before I leave and see if there are any problems.
I've thought about taking public transportation, but I always assumed it would take longer.
It depends on where you live. Have you checked the subway route from your neighborhood?
Not recently. I checked it a couple of years ago, but I don't remember the details.
You should take another look. They've added some service since then.
Maybe I will. How much does your subway pass cost?
I pay about $120 per month.
That's actually not bad. I'm probably spending more than that on gas every month, especially with all the traffic.
And don't forget parking.
Oh, don't remind me. Parking downtown is so expensive.
That's one of the main reasons I stop driving every day.
Do you ever drive to work now?
Sometimes, especially if I need my car after work. But when I do drive, I usually try to carpool with someone.
How do you find people to carpool with?
A few people in our office live near me, so we have a small group chat. If 2 or 3 of us are driving in the same direction, we'll go together.
That's smart. Does it actually save much time?
Sometimes. We can use the carpool lane on part of the highway, so during rush hour, it can definitely help.
I never thought about asking people here if they wanted to carpool.
You should. There might be someone who lives close to you.
Maybe I'll ask around, but I'm also curious about the subway now.
Why don't you check the transit app during lunch? You can compare the subway route with your normal driving route.
That's a good idea. If it's around 35 or 40 minutes, that would be much better than sitting in traffic for over an hour.
Plus, on the subway, you can read, listen to music, or just relax instead of watching traffic.
That's true. I could actually use that time for something instead of getting frustrated behind the wheel.
Exactly.
You've totally changed my perspective on my commute. I came in this morning thinking I had no choice but to deal with traffic every day.
Sometimes it just takes looking at the problem from a different angle.
I'm definitely going to check the subway route today, and maybe I'll ask around about carpool partners too.
Sounds like a plan. Hopefully tomorrow morning will be a little less stressful.
I hope so. Thanks for the advice.
Anytime.
That was a really helpful conversation. Jim didn't just listen to Rachel complain about her commute. He also helped her think about some practical alternatives.
Exactly. And this is a great example of everyday small talk becoming a useful conversation. Let's break down some of the phrases we heard.
The conversation started with, "You look a bit tired this morning. Everything okay?" That's a very natural way to show concern when you notice that a coworker doesn't seem like their usual self.
And Rachel answered, "My commute was absolutely horrible today." Adding absolutely makes the description stronger. She wasn't saying the commute was just a little inconvenient. It was really bad.
Then Jim said, "I totally understand that feeling." That's a great phrase for showing empathy. You're telling the other person that you've had a similar experience and understand how they feel.
Another useful question was, how do you usually get to work? This is a very natural small talk question, especially when people are discussing transportation or commuting.
And Jim explained that his subway commute is about 35 minutes door to door.
Door to door means the total travel time from the moment you leave one place until you arrive at the final destination. So it's not just the time you spend on the subway itself.
That's an important distinction. If the train ride takes 20 minutes but walking to the station and getting to your office takes another 15 minutes, your total commute is 35 minutes door to door.
We also heard Rachel ask, how much does your subway pass cost? Jim said he pays about $120 per month.
A monthly pass can be useful for people who use public transportation regularly because you usually don't have to buy a separate ticket every time you travel.
Another important part of the conversation was the transit app. I suggested checking the app before leaving home to see if there were any delays or problems.
That's very practical advice. You can also use a transit app to compare different routes and see approximately how long each one will take.
Then we talked about carpooling. Rachel asked, "How do you find people to carpool with?" That's a useful question if you're interested in sharing rides but don't know where to start.
And Jim explained that some coworkers who live near him have a group chat. If they're traveling in the same direction, they can ride together.
We also mentioned the carpool lane. In some places, certain lanes are reserved for vehicles carrying more than one person, which can sometimes help you avoid heavier traffic.
Of course, the exact rules depend on where you live, so always check the local traffic rules.
Good point.
I also liked the sentence, "You've totally changed my perspective on my commute."
Change my perspective means to help someone see or think about something in a different way.
Rachel started the conversation feeling like she had no choice but to sit in traffic every morning.
But by the end, she realized she had other possibilities: taking the subway, checking a transit app, or finding coworkers to carpool with.
Another useful phrase was, "Why don't you check the transit app during lunch?"
"Why don't you" is a common and friendly way to make a suggestion. For example, "Why don't you take the subway tomorrow?" Or "Why don't you ask your coworkers?"
We also heard, "You should take another look." Using should is another common way to give advice.
Right. Why don't you? And you should are both useful. But remember that tone matters. In a friendly conversation like this, they sound supportive rather than demanding.
Here are some key phrases to remember from this conversation. How do you usually get to work? It's about 35 minutes door to door. How much does your subway pass cost? Why don't you? And you've changed my perspective.
You can use these phrases when talking with coworkers, classmates, neighbors, or friends about transportation and daily routines.
And conversations about commuting are great for small talk because almost everyone has some kind of daily travel experience to share.
Exactly. Maybe your commute is easy, maybe it's stressful, or maybe you work from home and don't have one at all. Either way, it's an easy topic to talk about.
All right, we've covered 3 very different everyday situations today.
We started at McDonald's, where we learned how to ask questions about a menu, choose a combo and a size, pay for an order, ask for a receipt, and change an order from eating there to taking it to go.
Then we went to the hair salon, where we learned words like trim, layers, split ends, blow dry, and appointment.
We also practiced explaining what kind of haircut you want, asking your stylist for advice, and talking about how much hair you're comfortable cutting.
And finally, we talked about commuting. We learned words and phrases like rush hour, public transportation, carpool, transit app, and door to door.
More importantly, all 3 conversations showed us something that can really help you improve your spoken English.
You don't need complicated sentences to communicate successfully.
Exactly. In real-life conversations, clear questions, useful everyday phrases, and polite responses can take you a long way.
And if you don't understand something, ask a question. You can say, "What do you recommend? How much would you need to take off?" Or "How do you usually get to work?"
Asking questions keeps the conversation going and helps you get the information you need.
Before we finish, we have 2 simple questions for you based on today's conversations.
First question, why did the customer at McDonald's change his order from eating there to taking it to go?
Second question, what 2 transportation options did Rachel decide to look into after talking with Jim?
Write your answers in the comments in English.
Both answers were clearly mentioned in today's conversations, so listen again if you need a little help.
And don't worry if your English isn't perfect, just try to answer in your own words.
We'll read your answers and we'll help guide and correct you when needed.
You can also tell us which of today's 3 situations is most useful for you: ordering food, going to a hair salon, or talking about your commute.
Maybe you've had a funny or interesting experience in one of these situations. Feel free to tell us about that too.
Practicing English with real situations like these is one of the best ways to make the language easier to remember.
Because you're not just memorizing vocabulary, you're learning when and how people actually use it.
Exactly. And the next time you're ordering food, getting a haircut, or talking with a coworker, maybe one of today's phrases will come to mind.
That's when you know your practice is working.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel.
And share it with someone who's learning English too.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep practicing your English in real life.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye!